Langston Hughes, whose full name was James Mercer Langston Hughes, was born February 1st, 1902. As a child, he was lonely and often found comfort in the plenitude of books.
He was the only child of divorced parents James Nathaniel Hughes and Carrie Mercer Langston. Since his father moved to Mexico and his mother was constantly traveling due to working purposes, it was his grandmother who raised him until the age of 12.
His grandmother frequently told her grandson stories. It was because of her that poet Langston Hughes became enamored by the beauty of literature and was able to understand the relevancy of an education.
His works became well known during the Harlem Renaissance. This was a time period that completely transformed writing for African American authors and poets. The main focus in his writings dealt with cultural and social issues as well as defending the black man.
Hughes wrote from 1926 to 1967. During this time, he wrote over 60 books, all which included poems, novels, short stories, plays, children's poetry, musicals, operas, and autobiographies. While Hughes and his family were living in the 1900s, they faced numerous adversities, which included racism, slavery, and discrimination. I believe that this definitely influenced the way in which he wrote. Oftentimes, he would write about perseverance and encouragement.
Do you remember writing this? Good morning, Revolution. You're the very best friend I ever had. We're gonna call around together from now on.
Yes, sir, I wrote that.
Did you write this? Put one more S in the USA to make it Soviet. The USA, when we take control, will be the USSA then.
Yes, sir, I wrote that.
Were you kidding when you wrote those things? What did you mean by those?
Would you like me to give you an interpretation of that?
I would be most interested.
Very well. Will you permit me to give a full interpretation of that?
Surely.
Alright, sir. To give a full interpretation of any piece of literary work, one has to consider not only when and how it was written, but how or what brought it into being, the emotional and physical background that brought it into being. I, sir, was born in Joplin, Missouri. I was born a Negro. From my very earliest childhood memories, I have encountered many serious and very hurtful problems. One of my earliest childhood memories was going to the movies in Lawrence, Kansas, where I live. And there was one motion picture theater I went to every afternoon. It was Nickelodeon, and I had a nickel to go. One afternoon, I put my nickel down and a woman pushed it back and pointed to a sign. I was 7 years old.
I do not want to interrupt you. I do want to say this. I want to save time here.
Sir, you said you would permit me to give a full explanation.
I
would much rather preserve my reputation and freedom than to save time.
take as long as you want.
The woman pushed my nickel back and pointed to a sign beside the box office sign that said, "Color not admitted." It was my first revelation of the division between American citizens. My playmates who were white and lived next door could that motion picture, and I could not. I could never see a film in Lawrence again.
The poem Mother to Son was a very famous and relatable poem that Hughes wrote. This poem dealt with the fact that life was not easy, as it is faced with many hardships and challenges. However, it also emphasized that it is not impossible to overcome the many obstacles that life presents.
In this specific poem, Mother to Son, the words were not simply encouragement from a mother to a son, but also an inspiration to all African Americans.
This poem was able to inspire the African American community and let them know that the hardships which they were forced to endure at the moment was felt not only by them, but by many others too. It was a way to let them know that they did not stand solely in the battlefield.
Yeah, let me tell you about Hughes. He can be really bitter at times, sometimes annoying, anything. But, however, I was actually a witness of his magnificent works of art that impacted many lives. He had a profound love for all humanity, but really emphasizing on African Americans. He wrote many things that were relatable and worthy of compassion.
Oh, he's a sweetheart. I can't tell you how much he enjoyed my little stories. I can tell you just about one more thing I enjoy just as much my stories. That's other people's stories. Books, he loves them. Now, Lord knows that I didn't have much to pass down to my grandson. One thing I can tell you is that I passed down the love for literature. And I know that he's going to be a great wingman one day. He's going to make his grandmommy proud. Well, son, I'll tell you. Life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it, and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpet on the floor. Bare. But all the time, I've been a climbing on, and reaching landings and turning corners, and sometimes going in the dark, where there ain't been no light. So boy, don't you turn your back. Don't you sit down on the steps, 'cause you find it's kinda hard. Don't you fall now, for I still going, honey. I still climbing, and la famiglia in peno Cristo stea.